How's it going, you guys? So I just finished a intense MMA workout. I sparred a couple hard boxing rounds and did about an hour of heavy bag to increase my conditioning. I'm going to be competing in powerlifting and MMA at the same time, so I am training concurrently. Please watch my video on concurrent training and how it's very possible to increase both cardio and conditioning as well as maximal strength at the same time. With that being said, that's probably why I'm a bit drained and why you hear sizzling in the background. I'm cooking myself a delicious steak, melted with cheese and butter and all sorts of delicious stuff. So, with that being said, today I'm going to be talking about how to actually construct a properly formulated ketogenic diet. Because there's so much misinformation, primarily most of it comes from people who have an agenda. They have weight loss programs to sell, diet plans to sell, they have supplements to sell. They don't want people to realize how powerful the ketogenic diet is for weight loss, for athletic performance increasing, or for health in general, getting people off medications and reversing all sorts of chronic diseases and mysterious autoimmune conditions that most people think are incurable. And so you hear a lot of people who just spew a bunch of misinformation. So regardless, I'm going to just start off here discussing the very basics of a properly formulated ketogenic diet and what exactly that entails. Now, most of the keto flu and all these side effects people get from the ketogenic diet are from not doing this properly, okay? So this is absolutely important. You cannot mess this up. You cannot just eat a little bit of banana or a little bit of white rice or any rice for that matter, or oatmeal, and then call yourself keto and then wonder why you're having problems. If you're having problems because you're not doing something right, almost always. And people who get thyroid issues on a ketogenic diet, typically that has to do with chronic caloric restriction. Tim Noakes actually just recently published a study showing that this year. So yeah, any diet where you restrict calories, even in a small sense over a period of time, will start to down-regulate thyroid and mess with your metabolism in general, slow it down. Anyway, so let's get started. Keto. Carbs under 20 grams total, preferably. Now, scientifically speaking, you need to keep your net carbs under 20 grams. So net carbs, generally you just subtract the fiber and the sugar alcohols from the total carb count. However, net carbohydrates can be pretty tricky and confusing for you to understand at first, and it's empirical that in the first 2 months you keep your net carbs under 20 grams per day. You need to be very meticulous with this. This is all it takes to get into ketosis. You don't need to worry about protein or anything like that. As long as you keep whatever diet, even if you just fast, okay, it's a matter of how much blood glucose is available at the moment. And so after about 3 days on average, your body will be producing ketones, okay, into the bloodstream. However, the body has not yet adapted to use ketones as a fuel source efficiently in the first 3 days. It's just producing ketones. It's not using them yet. And so that's typically why people feel tired. But after about 2 weeks, most average person who's not exercising, their body will begin to use ketones to fuel everything, okay? Typically within it takes about 2 weeks to start feeling a gradual increase in well-being. Now, if you exercise, on the other hand, you might not notice any difference at all in those first 2 weeks. That was my experience, okay? And I went cold turkey into a zero-carb carnivore diet when I first started. And I started lifting weights and did all my normal routine, but even harder, because my idea was, okay, the harder I go, the faster my body will have to adapt to this ketogenic diet. So you can think of exercise as a way to shuttle the ketones into your cells. That's what you can think of it as, even though that's not necessarily true. So 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein is ideal. Protein restriction is unnecessary, okay? That's a common misconception. Gluconeogenesis is a demand-driven process, and it only produces about 30 grams of glucose per day. Your body doesn't just randomly convert extra protein into glucose. That's ridiculous nonsense, okay? It's a survival mechanism, and it only produces the 30 grams or so that your body needs per day to survive, and that's you know, even it doesn't even have to produce that much. Your damn body begins to become glucose sparing. It starts to spare glycogen, actually, and you can look at the studies done by Stephen Finney and Jeff Volok, where they show that fat-adapted athletes actually have a faster rate of glycogen recovery than carb-adapted athletes. Endurance runners, elite endurance runners, actually. So that's fascinating. So your body is not going to kick you out of ketosis if you eat too much protein. Trust me, I've tested this with ketone monitors. Excuse me 1 second while I check on my food. Okay, so gluconeogenesis is a demand-driven process. It's only going to produce about 30 grams of glucose a day, and that's only if you really need that. Typically, it's not going to break down your muscle tissue and convert it into glucose, and even at that, it's only specific amino acids. It's not protein. It's not the large peptides. It's not the bound amino acids that get turned into glucose through gluconeogenesis. It's specific amino acids that are already broken down from the other amino acid complex in the protein, which get converted. Only specific ones. I believe alanine is one that gets converted to glucose, but I might be mistaken. So yeah, don't listen to people who say that. They don't know what they're talking about. So anyway, beyond that, if you're already lean, or your body or changing your body weight is not a goal, then embrace fat and make it a priority. Don't be scared of eating more fat, okay? In fact, you really should develop a taste for fat of all kinds, okay? You need to learn to enjoy butter, learn to enjoy heavy cream, learn to enjoy cheese if you can tolerate it, olive oil, avocados, you know, pretty much all sources of fat, as long as they are not omega-6, polyunsaturated omega-6, rich, okay, because most fats contain some degree of omega-6, but essentially you want to stay away from all vegetable oils, okay, and that entails soybean oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, you know, and personally I would say you avoid pretty much all oils. For me, I avoid all oils except for olive oil, and I specifically buy high quality, single origin, cold pressed, extra virgin olive oil, preferably certified by the olive oil certifiers or whatever, third party tested, okay, and verified to be actually olive oil. Because if you consume the wrong oils, trust me, within a year your fatty tissue is going to change. The composition of your own body fat will start to incorporate these unnatural fats. And I made videos where I talked about, you know, human beings aren't even meant to consume corn. Let alone, you know, imagine what happens when you take an already unnatural food not meant for consumption, and then you try to squeeze the oil out of the corn. Corn doesn't even have a lot of fat in it as it is. It has like 0.1 grams of fat per 100 grams or something. Corn is not a fatty food. None of these vegetable oils, soybean oil, and all these things are meant to be consumed. Okay, soybeans don't have much fat. Cottonseed. Why would someone consume cotton seed? Right, first of all. Second of all, how much fat are in cotton seeds? Well, I suppose seeds is actually quite a lot. But grains like wheat bran oil and stuff like that, corn oil, you're not meant to consume that. There's not really even enough, there's not even much fat in corn as a whole food. So anyway, all I'm saying is avoid these oils. Okay, I know you guys got the point by now. And if you consume oils at all, extra virgin olive oil. Okay, drizzle that stuff. Okay, if you don't have body fat to lose, if you're lean already, you're gonna need these. Okay, you're going to need these extra fats, trust me, especially if you're an athlete. If you're an athlete and you're not making it a point to consume more fats, your exercise performance will likely suffer in the long term, okay, and until you're fat adapted at least. After about 6 months of training hard on a ketogenic diet, you are going to derive a lot of your calories from your own body fat directly. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, so don't be afraid of fat. That's a very common problem people have, okay? And if you're restricting calories, okay, even for someone who's overweight in the first, in the first 1 month, you really should not restrict calories consciously. You should let your appetite be your guide. Because if you are restricting calories on keto, you will probably feel pretty bad for a while. And it's not and I honestly don't believe it's necessary to restrict calories on a high-fat, low-carb ketogenic diet. The first reason is even if calories are relevant in this state, which a lot of people believe that calories in versus calories out really matter, even on ketosis, your appetite regulates after you start eating all these fats. Like, you're not going to want to consume carbs anymore, especially after the first 2 weeks. Your body starts to, you become less hungry just because of the fats you're eating. And then when it starts to consume your own body fat for energy, which takes a couple months, it's not, your appetite's going to go way down. And so you could start to eat like all other natural animals in their environment. When they eat their species-appropriate diet, they don't need to restrict calories. You know, they're consuming their natural diet. They don't start gaining weight and getting all these diseases because their diet is compatible with their physiology and it self-regulates. Crazy people. It's insane. Anyway, don't consciously restrict calories, but log your food. Keep a food log, please. Trust me. And make fat a priority. It'll make you feel much better. For me personally, I love making keto coffee or bulletproof coffee in the morning. These days I do 2 raw eggs blended together with heavy cream, about 4 to 8 tablespoons worth, depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll add butter, sometimes I'll do coconut oil, sometimes I'll do I might do brain octane oil. C8, MCT, but that's usually for workouts these days because I feel like it kind of prevents your body from fully keto adapting when you do MCT oil. That's another story for another time. Brain octane oil makes you feel great. I actually have a little bit this morning, but I stopped doing that for a long time, and I find that, anyway, so yeah, I do lots of fats in the morning especially, and then I work out hard and keep it up throughout the day. I'll put butter on some of my steaks sometimes. It's delicious. Kerrygolds, but anyway, let's see. So exercise every single day to get the body to start adapting different energy systems to using ketones. Something a lot of people don't know is, number one, so the adaptation. Just your brain and your day-to-day activities will adapt to burning ketones for fuel within 2 weeks. So you remember, your body produces them within 3 days. Your body produces ketones in 3 days. And if you combine fasting with the ketogenic diet, it's even faster. But then using these ketones, the body takes a couple weeks to start doing that. Typically on average it's 2 weeks. But then exercising requires a different adaptation phase. And so you've got to train your body to use those ketones to fuel the muscles. And a lot of people make the mistake of changing their training when they start ketosis, and then they wonder why their exercise performance decreased. My exercise performance decreased on keto. I don't know why. Well, were you training as intense as you were before? No, like, I didn't want to train too intense because I don't have any carbs. Well, when you lower training intensity, your performance goes down because the adaptations your body made to that intensity go away. You detrain. It's a real thing. It's scientifically proven. If you don't train as hard as you used to, well, your body will no longer be able to train as hard as it used to. But at the same time, it does take a while for your body to start adapting to using ketones. Okay, sorry for the arrogance, but a lot of people, it's a nocebo effect that happens to them. Nocebo. They trick themselves into having worse performance. And first of all, they're like, oh, I don't have carbs, so I'm gonna die. Second of all, it's like, oh, well, I don't have carbs, so I shouldn't train as hard. Or, you know, they think, therefore they are. But regardless, the body does definitely take about 2 weeks to adapt to using ketones to fuel exercise. In my experience, when I first started and I was eating 0 carbs, I was eating about 80% fat, 20% protein. I was doing the carnivore diet where I just ate red meat and butter and oils. And I was hitting PRs like literally within the first week of doing that, which was crazy for me. When I removed carbs and ate and still ate the same amount of calories, but just with fats instead, I started hitting PRs within the first week, which is crazy. But the thing is, I told myself, I am going to see how hard I can push myself on this ketogenic diet. And I wanted to prove to myself and the rest of the world that you can train intensely on a ketogenic diet and not suffer consequences. And then I was like, whoa, why did I ever thought I need carbs? Like, I started to increase everything. My MMA skill increased because I had a greater clarity of mind. I didn't feel fatigued. I didn't get those carb crashes in the middle of sparring and whatnot, which used to be bad for me. I could sleep better, therefore I could think better. And, you know, ketones increase GABA, and GABA increases clarity of mind and calmness, which actually decreases your rate of exertion. And my endurance increased because it's burning my own body fat as fuel. So it was incredible. And then endurance, for me, I didn't seem to have any decrease in endurance. My endurance went up immediately. My strength increased immediately. Mind you, I was primarily doing power cleans and presses at the time. But I dropped 20 pounds in the first 2 weeks. And I went from 200 down to 100, well, it was 15 pounds, 200 down to 185 in the first 2 weeks. And my bench press increased by 10 pounds. My overhead press, I could overhead press my body weight. Okay, I could overhead press 100. Actually, I overhead pressed 190 at a body weight of 185, and that was a 5-pound increase from when I was 200. Incredible. So anyway, it takes time for most people to adapt. If you're doing marathon running, that'll take a certain phase of adaptation. If you do sprinting, that'll take a certain time of adaptation. You do powerlifting, that'll take a specific individual separate adaptation as well. So different energy symptoms need to adapt because you've been addicted to carbs your entire life. It's craziness. I honestly feel like the ketogenic diet is the natural human diet just because of the crazy benefits I've found and how ridiculous carbohydrates sound to me now. Anyway, so yeah, each energy system requires different specific adaptation phases. You might need less sleep. You'll probably drop 10 pounds worth of water weight in the first 2 weeks, and you'll have greater mental clarity. So water weight. In the first 2 weeks, okay, so sodium, potassium, and magnesium are very important. I only supplemented sodium at first, and I did fine. If you'll start to feel crampy, you'll start to feel lethargic, tired. If you start to feel low energy, you start to feel crampy, you start to feel like crap, chances are you need more sodium. So, in particular, the recommendation is 3 to 5 grams worth of sodium per day. So that's about the equivalent of 1 tablespoon worth of salt. Okay, real salt is preferable, but as long as there's no additives, then you're fine. So like a generic sea salt would be fine. It's mainly the dextrose. They add dextrose to table salt. You got to be careful for that. That's a carb. That's actually glucose. That's what dextrose really is. So be careful. People don't know there's sugar in your damn salt. Potassium. I would say be very careful with this, because if you overdose yourself on potassium, you will notice heart palpitations and potential negative side effects. I take new salt. It's a tiny blue salt shaker. It's only like $2. It's pure potassium chloride. And so you take potassium, and that's my chair squeaking, by the way, not anything else. You don't get gas when you eat nothing but meat, just so you guys know. That's bacterial fermentation in your intestines. And meat actually doesn't reach your intestines. Meat is mostly digested in your stomach by stomach acid. So potassium is something like 1 gram per day at first. Okay, but just look that up. I'm new to potassium supplementation. Never thought it was necessary. I feel a little bit better though when I supplement potassium. I would say go more on the sodium. Sodium regulates the retention of potassium, so more sodium means you retain more potassium. And then just start looking into supplementing potassium. It's very important. Magnesium is extremely important too, primarily for sleep, and it will help you poop in the morning. Typically you can get all the magnesium and potassium you need if you just eat something like 8 cups of leafy greens per day. Really, who's going to do that? And also, all that fiber really can mess your digestive system up quite a bit. I don't do well with plant foods at all, and mainly just in the first 2 months, okay, is when these electrolytes are extremely important. Some people notice when they just remove salt and remove all these electrolytes in general, your body actually balances its minerals by itself, and all the minerals you get from food, even if it's just animal products, tend to be enough. But honestly, if you feel like crap, you need sodium, you need potassium, you need magnesium. Magnesium makes a huge difference. I think of it mostly, I don't know how necessary it is. Like, I know there's the science behind it. I've made plenty of videos on it, but I think it's more of a remedy rather than an essential nutrient. I know it's an essential nutrient, but what I'm saying is if you're supplementing with it, you should supplement with magnesium from the mindset that it is a remedy to symptoms. It alleviates anxiety, it relaxes your muscles, it helps you go to sleep at night, it can be used as a laxative, etc. I like magnesium. I highly recommend taking it whether you're on a keto diet or not, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So, beyond that, carnivore diet would be an extreme step, but some people have intestinal problems, extreme flatulence, Crohn's disease and things, and removing all that plant fiber isn't really going to harm you. There's quite a large amount of people who have been doing a carnivore diet for well over, 5 to 10 years, some people over 50, and no adverse side effects at all, just purely benefits. I don't know. It's your choice. I like it. I feel best eating mainly animal protein and animal fats, but ketogenic diet is great nonetheless, even if you choose to consume plants. That's the basics of it all. Hope you guys like that. Let me know what you think down below. Maybe I missed something. If I did, let me know. Subscribe for more awesome videos like this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.